This is the Range Rover Sport P400 HSE plug-in hybrid. When you turn the car on, everything comes to light. These three screens, the one in front of the driver, this adjustable one here in the center console, and the climate control, all come to life. The car is completely silent, but now it's ready to drive. The controls are all touch and press controls, and their function changes depending on what you want to change, including the really cool ones for the mirrors on the outside. I think that's just amazing. It looks sensational. Okay, let's get underway. Unfortunately, my schedule has been cut short. It would be a mistake to assume that just because this is a hybrid, that it's lacking in power somehow. It's not lacking in power at all. The lower screen changes function depending on what it is you want to change. So I've got that currently showing the vehicle settings. The driver's instruments and the heads-up display only show certain kinds of information depending on what drive mode you've got selected. Interestingly, none of them have a rev counter unless you have the dynamic mode selected. It's very odd. This system was first seen in Range Rover Velar, and they're now rolling it out over the entire fleet. This is more or less the same shape that Range Rover started with over 40 years ago, with that first two-door model with the rear hatch. And all they've done really since is keep that kind of sexy boxy shape and modify it. And those complex lights at the front with the sweeping indicator and the daytime running lights, those sexy lines all over the headlights, they turn off if that indicator is selected. It just looks amazing. Also amazing is the fact that you can plug this car in and run purely on EV if you want. Obviously, I've long since run out of battery power and I'm now running as a normal hybrid. But for the first 48 kilometers of my travel, this thing that's the size of a small office block was running just on battery power. The wheels, these $3,500 wheels, or $3,400 wheels, are an option, and you might want to change those if you were going to go off-road. This car, this Range Rover Sport, is as serious an off-roader as any other Range Rover, with the possible exception of Evoque. It's a full four-wheel drive, full-time, and these drive modes below will allow the gears to switch between high and low ranges and the hubs to lock and unlock. And in fact, this thing is so capable. Jaguar did a test recently, Jaguar Land Rover did a test last year, and they climbed 999 steps in the Dragon Challenge. This thing climbed a 45-degree angle of steps. Here's a bit of the footage now.
Is the most extreme one we've done yet. The plug-in hybrid, having that grunt of both engine and electric will be a great benefit, but we're really pushing the limits.
Nice and steady. Yeah, we're clear, mate, don't worry. You be very careful up there, please. We're clear, don't worry.
I don't know about you, but that just looks frightening to me. And that guy at the end looked pretty chuffed. Your all-wheel drive cars couldn't do that. And that's the main difference. I've now selected smart cruise control, so the car's controlling itself. As well as that, it's using active lane control to keep me centered in the lane. It also doesn't want me to change lanes unless I indicate. We're now doing 80 kilometers an hour, and I can see on the heads-up display that I've got the speed and the lanes displayed, as well as my cruise control speed displayed. There's a few things about this car that I really like. In fact, there's nothing I really don't like. There's a clever two-part glove box. The little button opens either the top section or the bottom section. The vents are perfectly placed to get the air just where you want it. And in this car, there's a glass roof as well. It doesn't open, but it does have an interior shade. And that brings me to the next point about this car, that it is perfect for a long trip. This car has $20,000 worth of accessories, which includes some of those driver aids I was talking about. It was worth $11,000 on its own. The roof is over $1,000, and that little beep that you heard then, that's warning me that there's a camera coming up in the tunnel that we're about to enter. It's not obtrusive. Nothing about this car is obtrusive. People often think that driving an SUV is an impost. In fact, it drives no different to a hatchback. You're just very far off the road. The ride is sensational. It does change if you put it into dynamic mode. The ride is a little bit harsher and the steering a little bit more responsive, but that's okay. I can cope with that. Should you find yourself wandering off-road, you can go into 850 millimeters of water. Of course, I recommend that you only ever go into still or very slowly running water. Never enter fast water. And always test the water before you go into it. Don't wade into it and then suddenly find that it's 3 meters deep, because that wouldn't end so well. The next point I want to touch on, and I mentioned it briefly about the hybrid drive of this car. It isn't just a normal hybrid. Oh no. Because you can plug it in and run purely on electric mode for 48 or so kilometers, it makes this very large SUV an EV. So if you were judicious with your plugging in and you only did short trips during the week, theoretically you could never use the fuel tank during the week, unless you really put your foot down, in which case the electric engine is aided by the petrol engine. Well, that's it. What did you think? I think this is a really special car, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say it is the best in segment. I love it.